Log 0, the Orichalcum sunset. We are the architects of the impossible, the children of the Great Meridian. Our history is not written in ink, but encoded in the very silt of the Atlantic shelf. Listen to the hum of the spheres before the saltwater silence takes us.
In the cradle of the concentric rings we rose from the brine, mapping the geometry of a god's divine design. 3 circles of water, 2 circles of gold veined stone, a silicone-hearted empire seated on an Orichalcum throne. We harness the thermal vents, the pulse of the planet's vein, to build a citadel of logic where the enlightened remain. In the ivory halls of the pedagogy, the young ones are wired. Their synapses sparked by data streams, by ancestral ghosts inspired. No rote memorization, only the upload of the absolute truth. Crystalline chips embedded in the soft marrow of youth. They learn the calculus of gravity, the bending of the light. Prepare from the first breath for the eternal common fight. The citizenry is a symphony, the perfectly tuned machine, where the individual is a node in a landscape, crystalline and clean. Your vocation is a frequency assigned by the sorting core, whether you tend the hydroponic gardens or study the arts of war. To be Atlantean is to be a gear in a grand celestial clock, a fortress of the intellect that no Lemurian wave can shock. The ministers of the ether sit in chambers of refracted glass, watching the tides of global commerce and the shadow fleets pass. The council attend deliberates of a shared telepathic link, staving off the collapse, balanced on the catastrophic brink. Every law is an algorithm, every decree a mathematical law, excising with surgical precision any trace of human flaw. Behold the great generator, the humming violet heart, ripping the atom secret in the gravity well apart. It powers the hovering chariots in the bioluminescent street, keeping the climate temperate through the sub-zero deep. But the Lemurians in the shadows in the jagged obsidian spires covet the spark of our glory, the heat of our holy fires. The Lemurian encroachment to the west lies, the rival, the biomechanical nightmare state, where the Lemurian hive mind brews its ancient toxic hate. They grow their warships from coral, we forge ours from the sun, a conflict of 2 paradigms that can never be undone. They are the dark mirror of the entropic organic tide, testing the shields of Atlantis where our brightest secrets hide. The peace is a fabrication of the sensor grid. The border walls are vibrating at a frequency of 440 hertz. The Lemurians have breached the thermal rift. The bureaucracy is now a war cabinet. God save the archive. The Sentinel legions mobilize their armor forged in vacuum chambers, treading through the pressure holes where the red warning light embers. They wield kinetic lances that can split the ocean's weight. Guardians of the Republic, executioners of the state. From the command bridge, the admirals track the sonar ghost, ready to purge the Lemurian filth from our sanctified code. The attrition of the aeons, years turn to centuries in the cold blue-lit trenches of the deep, a stalemate of titans while the rest of the world stayed in sleep. We traded radiation for shadow, we traded lasers for blight, 2 hyperpowers drowning in the absence of the light. The bureaucracy demanded more power, more blood for the grid, until the cost of our survival outweighed the glory of what we did. In the desperation of the end, we tapped the forbidden core, seeking a weapon to end the Lemurian threat forevermore. The scientists warned of the tectonic plates of the crust's fragile skin, but the government demanded a victory no matter the sin. We overloaded the crystal, we forced the earth to scream, collapsing the very foundations of the Atlantean dream. The earth did not break, it recalls my technological sting, a shuddering seismic ripple through every concentric ring. The school room shattered, the glass towers fell like frozen rain. The great generator exploded in a white-hot radioactive pain, and across the rift we saw the Lemurian spires begin to slide. 2 civilizations swallowed by the fury of the tide. The bureaucracy issued a final automated command: archive the memory of the sea and the history of the land. Citizens stood in the plazas watching the sky turn to mud as the Atlantic poured inward, a cold and merciless flood. No chariots took flight, no shields held the weight of the sea, just the heavy crushing silence of the lost.
drowned degree.
Now the schools are silent, filled with the drift of the sand. The Borach outcome rusted in the forgotten watery land. The conflict is over, the enemies have won in the grave. The high-tech titans surrendered to the power of the wave. We are the myth in the marrow, the ghost in the machine, the greatest empire that the sunlight has ever seen.
Log 01. Log Arrow 1. Log Arrow 1.
And the pressure is 10,000 psi. The lights are flickering out. If you find this shard of glass, do not seek our city, seek our mistakes. We were too bright to survive the night. End transmission.